Welcome everyone to the third webinar of this series with teacher training. My name is Ashton McManus. I'm a Key Stage 2 coach in Ulster GA. I'm going to take you through this webinar here today on tricks of the trade. So it's basically just ways that what we use as coaches to try and help us when we're training, and on how we manage the teams and what we're doing, and especially we can link it now today to the classroom, so how we can manage our class and how we can work it that way. Okay, so click forward. So as we were saying there, we've been through, this is our third session. Okay, so hopefully some of you have been in from the previous sessions and you've taken on board some of the stuff from the introduction to games and how to plan effectively with Gareth and Cahill. So mine today, and then we'll finish now next week with cross-curricular links. Okay, so today what we're going to really look at is understand what is meant by the terms tricks of the trade. Okay, so tricks of the trade is really what we need to be looking at and trying to help ways to help us work around our sessions. Okay, so we're going to try and identify some ideas that can help you in your PE lessons. Okay, and then finally we're going to try and hopefully give you ways that you can apply these to your lessons. Okay, so tricks of the trade is simply making the delivery of the session easier for you as the coach or the teacher. Okay, so that's the idea of this whole thing, is to try and give the teachers ways that we can help sort of understand and make it easier for you when you're coaching. And maybe if you don't have the same level of experience or something like that, we can work ways here now and help you deliver the session a lot easier. Okay, so what we're going to look at, we're going to look at 6 main areas today. All right, we're going to look at the first one, be organizational skills. Second one would be class management. Third one would be questioning. And fourth one would be communication. Fifth one, session success. And finally, finishing the session. Okay, so hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to coach with your feet up on the table. Okay, that's hopefully not literally, but it should be made a bit easier for you as we're going along. Okay, so we'll go further on then, and we'll move into the first one, which is our organizational skills. Okay, so our organizational skills, we're splitting up into a couple of different areas. Okay, the first one we're going to look at is the equipment setup. Okay, so having all the necessary equipment ready to go saves time. So if you're able to get your equipment set up, have a whole session laid out in front of you, then it saves time. You can go from one area to the other. Okay, so just in the chat box, if you are in the questions section, if you can, who have you seen that could set up before the session? Okay, so we're trying to look at the idea of getting set up before the session. So I'll give you a couple of minutes here now and see if we can get any ways or any people or any groups of people that you think could set up before the session. Okay, so think of all different people, different groups that could be used. Okay, within the school. Okay, what can be used as a group? Okay, yeah, exactly. There's a couple answers coming in now. Okay, so the teacher, the assistant, children. Yeah, perfect. I think you've already seen my slides. So what I have written down is the teacher. Okay, so for the teacher, it is tough to get time to do it. I know from being in schools and having a mother who's a teacher as well, it may be not necessarily feasible to get it done before school starts or during break or lunch, but these are the only really times that we can do it. If we can find time to do it and get it done effectively that we want to. But obviously there is constraints and different things that go on with that as it is. Okay, so the next one being classroom assistant if available. So if a classroom assistant is there and can find the time to get out and set a session up quickly before the class comes to it, that would be a perfect use. Okay, and finally the children in the class. Okay, so we're Key Stage 2, so working with older students in the school, it could be used as a sort of a reward scheme. Okay, to try and figure out how, I'll think out a way of if a child is good and let's use it as like a reward to go up and set up and get out of class for maybe 2 minutes or so to set it up. Or you could do it, maybe work it as groups of children. So that could be with the table groups, as most classes have different tables. They could be assigned a day even to go up and set up the PE hall or out on the pitch. Okay. So some different ideas that we using for a setup. Okay, so it's important to sort of have all your equipment set up in such a way that it's effective and can be used. Okay, so from some of the ideas that we would use, say all the different coaches here, would be sort of looking at maybe placing like the footballs or slitters in hula hoops or in a certain area of the hall cordoned off, and maybe out the road in the corner, so that everything is in one place and you don't have people running around looking for things, pulling things out of bags and all different areas like that where things could go a bit mayhem, a bit mad. So you want to try and keep it as controlled as possible. Okay, this could come again with the hurls and the helmets. Okay, thing I've been trying to do myself along this year, or before we stopped, obviously, was to try and have helmets all laid out in different sizes and hurls laid out as well. So it minimizes the hassle of trying to get everything sorted. You can go to a certain size, you can get everything sorted like that. It's on the one bench or it's in the one area, and everything's easily done. Okay. Move on to cones that are color coordinated. All right, so we're trying to keep our cones sort of working. Okay. So we're keeping them in all the same color. All right, we're not changing them around, not doing anything different. Trying to keep everything in the same color, and so it goes well for different children. Where if you say go to one cone, or go to this cone, go to that cone, whereas if you say go to the yellow cone, go to the blue cone, then everything's a lot easier to manage. Okay. Bibs separate into piles just saves a lot of hassle if you're splitting into teams. Same as our cones, you can easily allocate all your players. Finally, our main games outlined using cones if necessary. So we have our cones set up previous to what we're doing. All our games are ready to go. So if we have that all set out ready to go, then it minimizes hassle of setting up during games, stopping other games, and working that way. Okay. Managing numbers, okay, is our second part of our organizational skills. All right. So what we're trying to do here is easily splitting the class into pairs, groups, or teams to try and keep control of the group. Okay, because if you're coming into say like a hall with the likes of 30 kids, what ways can you manage and control this group? Okay, so that's your task. So just in the questions section, is there any, how would you manage your number of pupils during a PE lesson? Okay, so try to think of different ways that you could do it. Okay, so just in the questions section there, throw in a few different answers that you would use, or ways that you would use to manage the numbers of pupils during a PE lesson. Okay, so think about when you're doing, think about the numbers that you have, how you would split them. Is there a trick? Is there different ways that you use them? Yep, some answers coming in there. Yep. Pre-assigned groups, give them a color, give them a number, color of tops. Yep, perfect. Grouped in tables. Groupings ready to use in class. Yep, these are perfect. Okay, so some of the ideas that we would use ourselves, okay, is I think game called the number game. Okay, we would use this in our start of our PE lessons. Okay, using during our warm up. Okay, so number game is basically all the children are in a group and they're all running around together collectively. And what you do, you would shout out a number, and they have to get into that much of a group. So they'd be running around, and you would say groups of 4, and they would get into groups of 4 as quickly as possible. Then you would go again, do a couple until, if you're looking to do the next exercise, maybe in groups of 5s, you would keep going, and then you finish with the last one, right? Groups of 5, and then once they get into their 5, then there's your group sorted already. Okay, so fun game you can bring into your warm up, but you can also use it to manage your group as you're going along. Okay, so another one we use as well is when in pairs. So number yourself 1 and 2. Okay, so our A and B are apples and oranges. Okay, it can change whatever it is each time. Okay, so you number yourself 1 and 2. So you would have the 2 in the group, and you would say number 1's go get a ball, number 2's go get a cone. Okay, so if you do that, then it splits the group already, and you're getting working, and you get everything collected and or gained for your groups a lot easier. Okay, so you're able to manage what you're doing, as well as keeping control of the group. You're not having children running around everywhere all of the show. They're going to a certain area and then coming back to where they are. So it's easier to manage. Then, as mentioned there in some of the responses in class table groups. Okay, so most classes have groups of tables together, or have different sign, could be different counties, different animals, anything, different colours. Using these groups to have your group and bring these groups across to PE lesson is a perfect way of managing the groups as we're going along, keeping our numbers together. Okay, because we know the numbers and we know that these children could work together well. Then we can bring that into our PE lesson. Okay, and then the final one, just a week one I picked up over seeing different things. If you ask a group to get into a part, if your group say, right, find a partner, they're always going to go straight to their friends. Okay, so if we're trying to look at a theme of trying to develop different aspects, so we're trying to work on using different people in the group or managing our numbers better by not having the same people together, we can try and widen the group and get people to look on working with different people. So once you get a partner, then switch partner and go somewhere else. Okay, so it gets people working with our people in the class that they might not usually, and gets them thinking differently how they deal with different situations. Okay. Another one then is for organizational skills is our lesson structure. Okay, so this is building on the stuff from Cahill last week. Okay, so we plan a lesson to use what is available with minimal equipment change. Okay, so in our structure of our lesson, what we want to try and do is we're trying to get as effective and efficient as possible. Okay, so we're trying to get through the session quickly with minimal hassle, minimal changing of equipment. Okay, so below I'm going to have a few wee different ideas for you to look at. All right, and they're going to be 3 wee games that they all link together, but they're using the similar equipment and there's minimal change needed required. Okay, so the first, hopefully you can remember back as well to what type of game it is from Gareth's presentation the first day. All right, so first one is over the river. Okay, so with over the river there we'll have the area with 2 teams, and we have our cones down the middle to mark out the river. Okay, so there's a simple game to start off, fun game for children. You can do a hand passing, you could do it with striking, kicking, whatever it is. Okay, so the setup is basically the same as the likes of prisoner ball. Okay, it's also a court game, and it has the 2 teams, but you have 1 person swapped on each side, but you also have your middle line of cones. Okay, so there's 2 games already that are this similar setup and minimal changing. Okay, when they're working on the same different things, they're working on attacking and defending, finding space, hitting into different areas. Okay, and then finally you could finish the session with the likes of a film division captain's ball game. Okay, so you're keeping your 2 teams, you're keeping your same area, but all you're doing is just moving the red cones away from the middle. Okay, so that's the same idea. Okay, the three games there, 2 teams working against each other. You can work on all your different skills of hand passing and kicking, or striking and hurling. You have different objectives in each one. So the first one's just kicking the space over the river. The next one's trying to find a player, and captain's ball is trying to find your players and score. Okay, so there is a natural progression where you're using the same equipment with minimal changing throughout. Okay, that was our organizational skills. So if you have any comments or questions, just fire them into the question box, and we'll pick them up and we'll get them towards the end, and we'll answer a few questions hopefully for you at the end. Okay, so we'll go on now to our class management. Okay, so managing the individual differences in the class. Okay, so all pupils will have a different skill level and engagement. So some kids will love to go to PE, others not so much, and when they're there, they might not be as well engaged. Okay, so we're going to look now at some of the different tricks that we would use to try and help and encourage more engagement throughout the PE lesson. Okay, so what I want you to do is think of how to work with a challenging child in the class during the PE lesson. So if there's a child that you would think in your class that maybe isn't as much engaging, or doesn't really work as hard, or is not really interested as much, how do you work with that child during a PE lesson? What are some of the different ways that you would, or different aspects that you would use to try and help that child during the PE lesson? Okay, so just in the questions section there, fire in a few responses. What different ways did you would work with a so-called challenging child? Okay, Okay, a few answers coming in here, good. Give them a job responsibility, yeah, Roshan, very good. Give them a special role, yeah. Give them responsibility. Responsible partner, yeah, absolutely. Keep them physically busy, that's also a very good answer, yeah. Okay, so a lot of similar themes coming in there, okay? So just with a challenging child, all right, what we would say is sometimes it's not always, but sometimes they may not be as academically gifted, but they have a high level of sport and prowess. Okay, so they may be not interested in the books, as they say, but more interested in playing football and harder every day. Okay, so how we try and manage that? Okay, so we need to see it as PE as a release from the demands of the classroom for this person. Okay, this child. During the PE lesson, this may be our time to work with them and get on board and build a relationship. Okay, so that could be through the likes of giving them responsibility, as we said in the questions, or working even together with the coach or the teacher themselves. So if you're getting into partners, be the partner of the challenged child and work with them and build up a bit of a relationship through their sport that they like to play. Okay. And as we're saying in the questions there, give them responsibility in the session to show confidence in them. Okay, so give them a task to do or give them a job to do, something that puts the pressure or puts the onus on them to see that you do value what they're doing and you do show confidence in them and you're trying to boost their self-esteem as you go through. Okay, so these are all different things that you're trying to tick off. Okay. Then with the less engaging child, okay, it's maybe a slight difference. Some things might be similar. Okay. What we look for is to encourage participation throughout. Okay, so the less engaging child may be someone who isn't really interested in PE, or maybe someone with special educational needs. So we need to try and manage ways that we can help these throughout. Okay, so encouraging participation is a very vital one. Keeping them going, keeping them encouraged, and trying to get them work through. What helps with that, I found myself over working with different children, is having skills in games with high success rates. Okay, so you don't want to pitch your level of challenge too high. You want to keep it at a certain level that you can get success. If you get success at something, even as a teacher yourself, if you get success at something, you're more likely to want to do it again and repeat, and you build your confidence throughout doing that. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. If you have a game or a skill, a simple wee skill, picking the ball up or catching, these are different ways that we can promote high success rate and increase confidence in PE. Okay. Then we go back to giving them roles and responsibilities. So teacher's helper, game timekeeper, team organizer, etc. So these children are in charge of setting up, running the PE session. Okay, gives them a bit of control over what they're doing, and gives them responsibility in that respect as well. Okay, this can be obviously applied to some different examples. Just off the top of my head, if someone's injured, maybe if someone is in a cast or can't, there's no PE gear. Okay, these can still be ways that can be used to keep people engaged in the lessons. And finally, what we use this is especially for people usually with autism spectrum disorder, is to storyboard the session so they know what's happening and they can join in when they want to. Okay, so storyboard is basically like a lesson plan that Cahill showed last week, but in a much more broken down and clear sort of setup. Okay, so it has clear definitions of what's happening and shows you different diagrams and things like that. So it's much more broken up to a more simplistic level. Okay, so it's trying to engage the child and work with them. Okay, so that might help to manage what they're doing and get their expectations of the session, so they know they can see what's going to happen throughout, and they can understand when they want to engage or not to. Okay. If you have any questions on any of that, please just feel free to type in. Okay. So we'll go on now to our questioning. Okay. So what we're looking at is effective questioning. All right. So effective questioning is really designed to be open and give children ownership of what they're doing. So we want to give children the understanding of it's them who's learning. They're learning through this and they're showing what they're doing. as a positive, okay? So encouraging and empowering, so positivity and praising everything they do, okay, but through our questioning. Okay, so question is maybe often overlooked. So you maybe just set up a skill, work away, but you would change spot and fix, but you're trying to maybe question them and ask them different questions around why they're doing it or how does it feel to do that, okay? So we want to think of, instead of telling them, we're trying to get them to think, okay? Get them thinking about what's happening so they can learn themselves. Stop and ask questions in good practice, okay? Use them as an example, okay? So if you're seeing someone in the group who's doing the skill well, you don't necessarily have to pull them out every single time, but if they're doing a skill well, maybe stop the whole group and say, right, watch how Johnny here does the pickup, okay? What's he doing? What's he doing with his hands? What's he doing with his feet? Okay, and as he goes through a demonstration, you're getting other children to think about what exactly they're doing. So you're asking them technical questions. So you're getting the main coaching points across, but you're doing it through a question, so the children are thinking themselves. You're not necessarily just telling them what's happening. You're making them think and making them understand the skill a bit more themselves, okay? So use the questions throughout the session, not just at the end. We do have a recap at the end, and it's important so the children know what they've learned and what they've tried to work on, but use the questions throughout the session as much as we can. All right, so then there's the famous saying of, tell me I forget, show me I remember, involve me I understand, okay? So you're trying to get involving them through the questioning. So we're using our question to involve the children, okay? So what we're going to do now, all right, the next, there's going to be a video coming up now, okay? We're going to run it a couple of times just so you can get a look at it, okay? So what I want you to do is think about what questions you would ask during the activity, okay? So it's a basic fundamental movements activity, okay? It's done with the thanks of Gareth for the video. It's done with Mal and Arden McAvoy, okay? They're going to go through a simple wee game and they're going to do the different actions, but I want you to think about what questions you could ask during this activity, okay? Let's play the video.
I'm going to play a fun game looking at the fundamental movements. Hand, toe, knee, bum. Two things with your knee.
Okay, so we'll run it one more time, okay? So as they're moving around, they're being given different instructions, okay? They're being called out of different instructions. So what questions would you encourage, or with their movements as well? Think about their movements. What type of movements are they doing? And go from there, okay? So one more time.
We're now going to play a fun game looking at the fundamental movements. Hand, toe, knee, bum. Two things with your knee.
Okay, so fire in some answers there into the question section. What questions would you ask these two as they're moving around? Okay. Some good answers coming in. Show me different ways. Yep. Which movement did you find the most difficult? Good. What other movements could we use in this game? Yep, exactly. Why might you use these in a game? Yeah, very good. So you're making it specific. Okay, so there's plenty of questions that can be used there. Okay, some of the questions I would use if I was watching this, okay, with the first part there as they're moving through.
We're now
Okay.
going to play a fun game.
As they're moving
looking at
through,
the fundamental movements.
I'd be looking at, can you use a different hand or foot?
Hand.
Okay.
Toe.
So they've been through there. Next time, can you use a different hand and a different foot as you move? Okay. And then, well, the next question as we're coming along here, when it comes to Arden here and he goes down and touches with his knee, I would stop and say, right, can everyone try that? Because that was the way we want to do it. We want to try and encourage the lunge as a basic fundamental movement. So I would say, right, watch Arden here can do that. It's going to do that again. And it's going to lunge down with his knee. And then I would say, right, what way did he do that? What did he do? And then try and get the children to talk you through. And as they talk through, you say, right, now you have a go and show me how you can do it. Okay, so you're putting the onus on them and giving them ownership. Saying, show me how you can do it. Okay.
Knee. Bum. Two things with your knee.
Okay, and then the final one you'd maybe end with, is there any other body part you can use to touch the cone with? Okay, so then you're giving the children a bit of ownership there and saying, right, what would you use? What part have we not used? Can you use it? Now you can show me how you would use that body part on the ground or on the cones. Okay, so these questions can be used sort of just whenever you see something that happens, use the question. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Okay, questions are important to get. It helps to learn and helps to guide what you're trying to do with the session. Okay, so some of the examples of questions that we would use just throughout the session, different times. Okay, can you show me how you did that? Can you show me that skill? Okay, so you're asking the question to the child and you're making them put them on the spot and showing them that you understand and you value what they've done, and you're trying to show them, they want you to show what they can do. So you're putting them on the spot a bit, but you're giving them the opportunity to express themselves. Okay, how did that feel? Okay, so this is one that's come through where say you're doing something like kicking a football. Okay, you're trying to do the pump pass and you kick it with your toe and it's sore, or you kick it with the top of your foot and it's not sore. Okay, so when you then kick a ball, you see something that happened. How'd that feel? How'd that feel in your foot? And then they would give you feedback and they would say, what happens if you did it a different way? And then they try it and they say, oh, it's not as sore, it doesn't feel as bad. And I say, right, practice that one for me. Okay, so you're using the different senses to try and help you guide what you're trying to do with the session. Okay. One of the things we touched on a bit earlier is the likes of question of what's John doing with his hands. Okay, and what's Jane doing to help her move? So you're using a bit of technical language. You're trying to get the skill points across, the coaching points from the actual skill you're doing. So say with John, they're saying it's the hand pass in Gaelic football. What's he doing with his hands? He's holding the ball out and holding the ball in one hand, the other hand's coming back and moving through. Okay, so you're getting the children to sort of explain to you what's happening instead of you explaining to them. Okay, so question can be used perfectly to do that. What body parts did you use? So you're getting a bit of understanding of the body and how we can use it. Okay, and if you use a different body part, what happens? So if you're doing a skill like the boys were doing there in the previous video, you can get what part did you use? How can we use it? What different part can we use? So you're constantly asking questions and challenging the children throughout. Okay. So these questions can be used at any time during the session. All right. So we're trying to keep them thinking the whole time. We don't want to overcrowd them with questions, so we constantly stopping every single time. But can be used if we see good practice or we see something that we think we can coach upon or we can develop upon. Okay. So going now into our communication. Okay, so gaining the attention of pupils in PE can be a challenge sometimes if they've come from a long day, say, and then they get into the hall or outside and they just want to go mad and run around and just blow off a little steam from sitting in class all day. That's perfectly natural, right? But what we want to try and do is we want to try and allow that unstructured element to it. Okay, we can use that as our free play section, but we want to try and, again, if we're trying to do a specific game or trying to build on a specific theme, that we want to try and bring a bit of instruction to it. So we want to try and bring a bit of structure back into it as well. So there is a fine balance between both, but we need to understand that we need to have a bit of communication element to it and getting our instruction across effectively. Okay, so some of the ways that I've watched other teachers do it over the years, and I've been learning myself, trying to develop from these, and teachers are the best at doing it because they're with the children every day. And you may all have a different way of getting the attention of the pupils. Okay, these are just some ideas that I've seen from other different teachers. It's how they control groups. Okay, so count down from 5. So if you're an authority figure, you say, right, 5, 4, and by the time you get to 1, the children should be quiet or should be listening. Okay, that's one that's commonly used. Okay, a clap sequence. All right, so it's like a sort of a routine, or like it has to be developed through different years. I've seen it done once at a co-camp, and one of the teachers was in the local school, and when he clapped, the whole place stopped and clapped back to him in the same sequence, and then that was it. Their attention was got straight away. Okay, so that was ingrained obviously through the years in the school, but it worked perfectly. Okay, so a simple clapping routine. So maybe 3 claps in a row, and you wait, and then the kids will reply with 3 claps, and then their attention is drawn in straight away. Okay. So a saying with a reply. I've seen this one was actually in using Irish. Okay, so there'd be a teacher would say a line, and there would be a set reply to that the children would reply, and once they reply, then that they know that that's them. Their attention is brought back to what the teacher is going to say next. Okay, this worked well, but it might not be as effective if you're outside or if there's a lot of noise going on. Okay, so it's trying to work out different ways that it can be used. Okay, one of my favorite ones I try and use is just be silent. Okay, so I'd be pretty quiet as it is, but what I would use if the group is loud and maybe you're trying to get attention, you're trying to explain something, just stand there, just silence, and the children will start to wonder why there's not hearing any noise or why you're not arguing back, and then you maybe get ways of the children shouting at each other and trying to right, be quiet, we need to listen. Okay, so you're trying to think of different ways that can be brought around. So if you have any ways that you use or anything different there, throw them into the questions there with a bit of a community of learning here. We can use all these different skills together and try and develop our lessons together. Okay, so throw them into the question section there, and if you see any, we'll give them a shout out, I suppose. Okay, well, there are just some different examples. Teachers you may have all your different ones that you use. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about as well is how do you talk to the children during PE? Okay, so think about different ways that you would talk. Okay, so does it differ from the classroom? Okay, or does it differ from other aspects of your teaching? All right, so have a think there now, just of different ways that you would talk to the children during PE. Okay. Good. Yeah, some things coming through. Yeah, perfect. So what is there? Do you think there's a difference between the way that we talk during PE session or in the classroom? Okay, so we're trying to think of different ways that we can. Is there a difference, or how do you talk to them? How do you talk to children in either environment? Okay, so one come through in a more relaxed manner. Okay. Perfect. More short, sharp answers and commands. Yep, perfect. So when they're in PE, they may not have the same attention span, I suppose. They just want to do things and want to go out and then get through. You could observations for questioning. Yep. Okay, so there's loads of different ways that we can do it. Okay, so some of the ways that we would consider doing it is encouragement. Okay, so everything is praise and encouragement. All right, you want to try and push the children on, but boost your self-esteem as you're doing it. Okay. Positivity. All right, these are all coming through in the questions as well. Short technical advice. If you give, I know from myself, if you give a child a ball and they're standing with the ball in their hand, you're not going to get their attention for more than 20 seconds because they just want to go and throw the ball off the wall or kick it as high as they can. Okay, so it's trying to get your point, whatever you're trying to say, can you get it down to 5 or 6 words? Okay, trying you keep it as short and as concise and clear as possible. Okay, because once they're in PE, once they want to get there, they want to go mad and want to just enjoy themselves, which is perfectly true. It's what we want them to do as well. Get a bit of exercise, but we're going to try and get what we're trying to do, our short technical advice, our information across as quickly and as concisely as possible. Okay, and then controlling our pitch and our tone. All right, if we're speaking to them at a 1-to-1, we keep it nice and low. And then if we're going to loud across the group, we're speaking a bit louder. Okay, these are the things I'm preaching to the converted here. These are the things that will be done in the classroom as well. Okay, so it's just these can be transferred across. Okay, and as teachers usually know as well when is the appropriate time to do so. Okay, but these are just things that we'll highlight just to make sure that there is to show that there is. These are the ways that can be done in PE as well. So PE and the classroom can be brought together through the way we communicate. Okay. So some of the answers there we got back to were very good. Some of them there, higher energy. Okay, that was the one I picked up. That was very good. And then minimize instruction. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're trying to keep everything as concise as possible. Okay, so we're nearly done. We can get out in the weather, good weather shortly if it doesn't rain. Okay, but so what we're going to go on here now is session success. Okay, so transfer rewards in the classroom to PE. Okay, so a lot of classes may have the likes of a reward scheme or getting gold stars and things like this for doing good work or building on some of those good actions that have been done in the class. Okay, helping others or tidying up or things like this. Okay, so these can be brought in, these can be applied to your Ps. Okay, so yeah, some answers coming through here. A lot of them saying both. Yeah. Yeah, we got both coming through. Perfect. Okay, so I would personally say both. Okay, there's a lot of people who might be differences in different people, but I would say reward both. Okay, you're developing your self-esteem and your confidence across the children by rewarding both. Okay, so if you reward, you praise an effort, you're promoting a growth mindset in the child. Okay, if the child sees that if they're doing effort, they're putting in hard work and they're getting rewarded for it, they feel more confident from it. But if they only see a child being rewarded for being skillful, they'll think, well, I don't have that skill, so I'll not get rewarded. So then they're already fixed in that mindset of like say, well, I'm not going to get rewarded, so what's the point in me trying? But if you give them that praise that effort or praise their sportsmanship, they'll continue to try and do it and develop on it for that, to receive that praise, that reward. Okay, but it's also important to praise the skill and reward the skill of a child. If there's a child that is skillful and can do the skills very well and are operating at a high level, you need to show that what they're doing is very good and they need to be valued as well. Okay, their confidence is as important as anyone else's. All right, they're obviously very good at the skills and maybe different practices or different things. So rewarding that is also very important. Okay, how you do that might be slightly different. You might bring your reward praise to them in the session, but you maybe reward differently for effort. Okay, that comes down to your own preferences and how you want to evaluate that. But I think for me personally, rewarding, getting across both and rewarding both is very important. Finally, now finishing the session. Okay, so what are you trying to do? We're linking in here with the likes of our recap and our cool down. Okay, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to finish the session in such a way that when the children go back to class, they're ready to get back to work. Okay, so their heart rate is lowered and their minds are switched back on again from the madness really of the PE session. They've got their heart rate down, they've got their breathing down, and they're ready to go. Okay, so some of the wee things that we look at when we're finishing the session, a few wee tricks are collecting the equipment. Okay, so if you have a lot of equipment across the yard or in the hall, okay, as a teacher, as a coach, it shouldn't really, you shouldn't have to collect it all. Okay, you should be able to think of different ways that you can really get the kids to do a bit of work, I suppose. Okay, so one of the tricks that we would use here is if they've been in their teams previous, you would say, right, whatever team collects the most equipment gets to go out to lunch first, or gets to go to break first. Okay, so it's a novel reward really, but it does drive a bit of competition. Okay, so if you can say, especially if it's the end of the day, and you can say, right, the team that collects the most equipment gets to go home first, you'll have the equipment lifted in about 20 seconds. All right, so things like that can be very useful. Saves a lot of hassle, saves time building it in. They can get their equipment and then line it up, and all of a sudden everything's cleared, ready to go. Okay, recap of the session. Okay, that's where our questioning comes back in again. What did we do in the session? How did you enjoy it? Was it fun? Okay, asking these types of questions at the end gets the children to think about what they've done, especially if you've gone over a skill, if you try to teach a skill in that session. Ask the question, how do you do the hand pass? How do you do the kick pass? How do you do the strike with the hurling off the ground? Okay, these are the different questions that you could ask, and then you can get your technical answers back of your different coaching points. Okay, and finally then is our cool down. This is the part we use to try and calm everyone back down and relax and get ready for back to work or going home or whatever it may be. Okay, so the cool down is very important. All right, it can be done in many different ways. We're going to go through a couple here now in a wee second, but before we do that, is there anyone who has any ideas of what type of things we could do in our cool downs? Okay, so if you have any ideas of a cool down or different ways that you would cool down or calm the children towards the end of a session, file them into the questions box there, and we'll have a look at them. It's just think of different ways that we can prepare them to go back to class. Okay. So a couple coming in there now. So like the slow breathing and meditation. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so there are perfect examples of different games that we can do. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll give you a few ideas that I would use and different coaches from within our group would use. Okay, so first one is the 1 minute game. Okay, so what you would do is you have all the children either sitting down or lying down on their backs with their eyes closed. Okay, and they're anywhere all spread out across if it's in the hall, spread out across the hall. What you do is you have them lie with their head down on their back with their arms down by their side. And then on your call, you would say you're going to time 1 minute on your watch, and what you have to do is try and get the children to count to 60 seconds exactly. Okay, and once they get to 60 seconds, they quietly stand up. So whatever child, you can bring in a bit of competition to it. If anyone can get up on exactly the 60 seconds, then they get a reward or get a point. Okay, so it's a bit of counting too if you want to develop a bit of cross curricular. Okay, it doesn't have to be 1 minute. It can be 30 seconds. It can be 2 minutes. It can be as long as you want or as little as you want. Okay, but it's a great wee game to get them a bit of mindfulness. You're sort of sitting and not really doing anything, and you're trying to control your breathing and trying to count quietly into yourself. Okay, I found that it's been pretty effective for me finishing off sessions, and how you can get the children just to calm down and relax, and then they can line up after and go back to class. The one that was mentioned there was slow breathing, and different breathing exercises are coming through. Okay, square breathing is a technique that can be used to lower the heart rate and reduce sort of our heavy breathing as we're going through. Okay, so starts off with just breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. So that bottom one should say out. Shows you how good my diagram was that I found. Okay, so you're breathing in, holding for 4 seconds, and then breathing out and holding for 4 seconds at the bottom. Okay, so the idea of this is just to slow the breathing down. Okay, and then in turn that'll help slow the heart rate down and calm everything down as we go through. Okay, land the plane. All right, this is a game I actually found on Twinkle, one of the resources. Okay, so you start off with your hands out and you're taking off as you do with a plane, okay? And you're taking off and you're building up a bit of speed, and then when you're up as a plane, you're moving around with your hands out. Then you get hit a bit of turbulence and you start bouncing or different things, and then it ends with you slowly coming towards the ground and eventually lying down on the ground with your hands out. Okay, so as you've landed the plane, once you're lying on the ground, landed, then you have to stop. All the passengers have to get off, things like this. So you're lying down there for a couple of minutes, and that should be able to bring the heart rates back down as you finish. Okay, so just a wee novel game, but it's just something different and gets them thinking of different ways that the planes work and different things like that. Okay, so then another one is catch the stretch. So if you have a ball, if you practice a bit of catching during the day, throw the ball up high. The child has to stretch up high to get the ball, so they're stretched on their back and their arms and their shoulders. Throw it down low. Child has to squat down, pick up, catch the ball, so you're getting a stretch on the legs. Okay, so or throw it to the side, or stretching to the side, things like this. Okay, so it's just a wee novel idea. If you've been doing catching, you can throw and catch as you're going. And finally, our general stretching. Okay, so this could be the likes of our meditation or our yoga. So just general stretching the body parts that we worked throughout the session. Okay, so hopefully there are a few ideas that you can maybe bring to your lessons as you go through. Okay, so if there's any questions that have come through, have a wee look. Or if any questions now, feel free to write them in. I've seen a few examples of different cool downs coming through there. Very good. Yeah, perfect. So there's a wee question there. Could you use the games to get winners or losers to help with the tidy up? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you can use the games whatever way you want to link into your tidy or your collection of the equipment. Okay, so these are all different ways of we can use it. So if the team wins the group or the team wins the game, then they don't have to tidy up. That can be the forfeit, I suppose, of the losing team. Okay, so it gives a bit of effort and a bit of competition into your session. Okay, yeah. So it can be used. You can use it out absolutely. So any tricks for organizing the playing area, numbers of grids, etc. Okay, so if you're in the likes of a hall, okay, you already have your lines in there. Okay, so your lines are in the floor, so you're already a step ahead. If you're outside, you try and use your equipment of what you have. If you have the likes of cones, I would try and use the cones in such a way that you're maybe keeping the boundaries as defined as possible, but you're not overcrowding them with cones. Okay, so if you're making a square, you have your four corners. Okay, so it's basic, and so you're in your square. But another thing would be maybe to sort of have your color coordinated. So everything is go to the white square, go to the blue square. So everything's sort of set out in different ways like that there. But in terms of numbers of grids, it's thinking back to your numbers that you have as a total. So if you have, say you have 20, you can do 5 in a square. So there's 4 squares. Okay, so it's just working out and make sure that the squares everyone isn't crowded in. Okay, there is a distance between each. That can be, you can easily adjust, use the step principle. You can adjust the space, the equipment, the time, whatever you need to do. Okay, I take out different participants, but all these different ideas that Kyle even touched on last week, these can be brought in and can be adjusted. You don't have to set up, whatever you set up doesn't have to be the exact thing that you're going to use. What you set up can be used and be adapted throughout the session. Okay, so it's not really necessarily to have it set up in a certain way, but feel free to adapt. The trick is to be able to adapt and change on the spot. If you don't see it, if something isn't working, try and change it. Remember all tricks every session. I wish I could. No, you try and just think of different ways that things can be applied at each session. Sometimes it's hard to get everything across, but one or two things might help just ease the session up. I bet some things might work some days, some things might work the other days. Just trying to make that work.
Oisin, there's another one here. Do you pick these things up as you go, or as a teacher should we know a lot of these already?
That I've picked most of these up as I've gone along. You have to just watch other people do what they're doing. So that we're lucky we have a lot of in service and we can see things and other coaches doing how they do things. So it is a lot of things should be picked up along you go. Like the majority, I'd say 90% of what you see is useful. So you should be watching what you can and picking up as much as you can from watching different teachers. So I see different teachers in different schools, or you see different coaches. So you don't necessarily have to have all the knowledge. We're always learning. So picking up things along the way is definitely the way forward.
Okay. Another one here, Oisín, from your own experience, what's the best way of handling discipline problems within a PE session?
Well, for me, in discipline would be, I'd be sort of operate on the strike system. So I would give them a chance the first time, and then if they don't, they're out for 30 seconds or for a minute or whatever it is. If they're sitting out, you can see that they're looking on and they're annoyed and they know something's happened. But it also gives a sort of element across the other children in the group that, right, he's going to actually set us out if we mess about, or we don't do something right, or not do something right, but be in discipline. So it sets it across. But I'd always bring them back in. They're never sitting out for more than 30 seconds to a minute. So you're trying to get them out so they understand what's happened, but bring them back, introduce them, so give them another chance to try and get back in to the session and integrate back into the game.
Okay. There's one here, Oisín. Are there ways of handling disabled pupils?
Yes, well, these come into different areas of disability. Depends on what it is. There's a lot of things set up for disabled students, and these can be the likes of different equipment and different areas for games to be done in. But a lot of these can be adapted to disabilities, depending on what it is, if it's learning disabilities or physical disabilities. So bringing these tricks can be brought in. So unfortunately I haven't really much experience of working with children with physical disabilities, but from what I've seen with learning disabilities, it's trying, as we mentioned before, they're trying to engage and be positive and give a high success rate throughout and make the games appropriately pitched. You don't want to come out to a game where you're throwing them into a 10-on-10 match and they've never played football or sport before. So it's pitching it at appropriate levels and trying to make it work and making it accommodating for everyone. That'd be my sort of take on it, I suppose.
Brilliant. Just last one then, Oisín. How made you select your teams?
Well, the teams, you could do obviously your groups and do different table classes, but these can be different. You could have two boys sitting together in the class that are two great footballers. So it's maybe having an understanding of the skill levels and picking them that way. If you're in the likes of a heavily male dominated class, you wouldn't let the boys pick it all themselves, because just pick all boys and things like this. So I would try and sort of split the groups as evenly as possible, males and females, and then if you're doing it the likes of, if you have a composite class, maybe P6, P7, you're putting, say, you're picking the P7s and picking P6s to go with them. So you're getting as mixed groups as possible, so everyone's working together and there's no group that's more dominant than the other. So you're trying to balance the group as much as you can.
Okay, so Oisín, there's just one more come in here and we'll finish after this one. What is your best trick that you use?
Best trick, that's a good one to do on the spot there. I would say for ending the session, it would definitely be the wee 1 minute game. That's something I find it's been brilliant. It just brings everything back down, and the teachers would feedback and saying that it's been great, that they can go back to after doing a sort of intense enough session, and they can come back to the class and they're ready to go again. I suppose maybe the other one would be the likes of being silent. I think it's worked really well for me. If they're not listening, or they're doing something that shouldn't be, and they're standing in a group, just stand there, because it's their time. They're using up. So if you're using up, they'll realize that, hold on, we're not getting the same amount of time here that we should be getting. So you're putting the onus back on them to sort of come into play. So being silent and the 1 minute game would be my main ones. Okay, so there's just a few resources again that we use for different things. There are a GA learning portal. You go onto our planner and see different things, or you can see different webinars from different coaches. The also GA YouTube has our sessions from Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. There's been the sessions been put up recently. There's up to 3 now for each. So these will be continued again on the same run as these teacher sessions, and the previous 2 teacher sessions and this one. And the next one, I suppose, will be put up on the YouTube as well, so they can be reviewed at different times. So it's a great resource there. And then finally, I used for, I suppose I had to mention the Twinkle, just for different games and different activities, especially for like the cool downs and warm-ups. Maybe they'll have the specifics of GA skills or whatever, but the types of novel week games for cool downs and warm-ups, they're a great addition. Okay, so thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully you got something out of it. Even one wee thing, I'd be happy if you take something from it. And then obviously now next week is the final one of the series, which is the cross-curricular links, so how to develop a theme into the PE session. So this will be done with Rory next week. So hopefully you can come back in for it. It'll be a very good session of how we link everything to PE from the class. So thank you again for listening. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a hassle for you, but hopefully you got something from it, and hopefully we can apply it to our different lessons and develop their PE lessons as we go along. So thank you.